Have you always wanted to visit India, but the hassle of planning and the intensity of group schedules is putting you off? Hi, I'm Craig, owner and tour leader of Maharaja Tours. With 40 years experience traveling India, I curate stress-free luxury tours where you can expect top hotels, easy travel, excellent guides, and delicious food. Visit my website, www.maharajatours.co.nz, and explore your options for touring incredible India.
Where we're going to start? Well, let's jump in. Most of us assume treaty settlement deals with a deal with Crown land, right? Not your backyard, not your family farm, but that assumption is starting to crack. Some iwi are using heritage provisions to claim parts of privately owned land. And concerningly, it seems the councils are going along with it. My first guest this morning is highlighting an issue that threatens property rights. Elliot Ikilei, good friend of the show with Hobson's Pledge, joins me now. Looking good in the morning sunlight there, Elliot.
Thanks, Leah. Kia ora, morena.
Kia ora.
Hope you're all good over there.
We're good. You're not in Grovetown doing stuff, are you?
No, but that was actually the one thing I picked up from that whole thing was the idea of what you did in Grovetown. I was like, oh yeah, Green Nose, Texas.
What did you do in Grovetown? All right. Hey, look, I think most of us aren't aware of this. Elliot, walk us through what is happening and where predominantly are you seeing this?
So this is something where we've known about this spot on, spot off over the years. We've known that there are different iwi who've been taking land, placing it under things like SNA, heritage, importance, ideas, legislation and bylaws, but we've been able to wrap up the OIA, the requests, and so now we've been able to get a good investigation on it. Now in Auckland, that's where the majority of them are, but it's not the only ones. And what's happening is that in this case, Te Kaurau Amaki, who were originally known from the Ihumatao deal, they've been able to effectively grab a hold of different lands within Auckland, West Auckland, and are taking it under that heritage element. Now, it's fascinating, but the council is basically taking its hands off and effectively saying, not us, it's the law. You guys just got to be able to put up with it. Now, there's a lot of tears and heartbreak over this and other forms that we've seen. And I mean heartbreak, because a lot of New Zealanders have put their heart, soul, they've had generational ownership of that land, and now we're seeing it being taken away. So this was something that we've always been warning about for years, but now we're able to sort of show again to the public what's going on in the legislation.
So you're saying the council are going along with it, and they're also refusing to tell property owners what the claims are based on. Do you remember the story? Can you tell the story about the North Shore landowner who was told by the Historic Heritage Unit and Te Kaurau Amaki, which you talk about, claimed that part of their private land was culturally significant, and then what happened when they went to the council and then later on to the ombudsman?
Well, that's right. They were effectively just told, this is the process, it's ongoing. They've effectively taken their hands off it. It's extraordinary. We're trying to follow up as to what's going on, but they've effectively just gone, it's not us, it's the rules, the rules of the game.
Nothing to see
and
here.
It's extraordinary, because this is homes, this is private land.
Yeah.
Now, we warned that this was coming, especially when Ihumatao came along. This was an expansion of the government interning and effectively allowing for the movement into private ownership. So we've been warning about this. It's a shocking case. There are more to come.
In fact, the councillor, the response, according to what I saw that you were talking about, the council advises that it needs to maintain its relationship with the iwi to undertake its heritage functions effectively, and that was it. That's all this homeowner got.
Yep, yeah, that was it. Yes, that was it. And I tell you what, the elections actually also, I went to different debates, and people were keeping on repeatedly. I went to multiple in Auckland and multiple out of Auckland. And what kept coming up was this idea of co-governance starting to force its way into people's lives. And the incumbent members kept repeating the same thing no matter where in the country I went, which is this is the legislation. We've got to keep relationship with iwi, and that's it. That's it. No
That's it.
debate beyond that.
No,
That was
that's a
it, and I
narrative.
found that extraordinary.
Yeah. And I mean, it isn't a one-off, is it, Elliot? What, some 700 properties that you know of in Auckland are under review
Yep,
for
yep,
similar
that's right.
heritage claims?
700.
700.
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, this is something we've heard about these little dots over the years. And this is
Yeah.
actually, I'm going to plug our supporters. We haven't been
Yeah.
able to get a good, solid research environment around it. Our supporters have enabled us to be able to get a proper research, a proper format of what that looks like. And that's why we found around 700 within Auckland and many more
Wow.
outside of Auckland.
And like in these cases, Elliot, I mean, what the legitimate landowners, what are they allowed to do? I mean, this affects what, them selling it or building or what, pay koha to the iwi? How does it work?
Well, this is the Wild West. We don't actually know. This is the Wild West.
Okay.
Effectively, they can't do anything. So I've known different stories of some who are unable to touch or amend or change land, others who have just had it. It's a weird situation. There's one case in Hamilton, for example, where the owner is not able to do anything. It's not their land. They've been advised that it's not their land. They've had their own livestock on it removed against that person's will. It's it's a real grey area, and again, this whole idea of just taking land is a land confiscation by extremists, and using New Zealand law to do it.
And Elliot, you and by the sounds of it, as the councillors are complicit to it as well. You've highlighted that this is something similar is happening in Canada, is it not?
That's right. So in the Canada examples, you've got some of the I can't quite remember the name on them, but you've got tribal elements there who've also been able to push into the progressivism style of illegal entries to take land. It's nearly like, it reminds me of what happened over in Zimbabwe and what's happened just recently in South Africa itself, where there is legislation now to just take land. So this is actually a worldwide trend that's going on from the more progressive, more liberal areas who hold this He Puapua style, indigenous rights style legislation.
I think it's they're there in Canada, where the government has kind of folded private land into a shared governance arrangement with Indigenous groups without the consent of the owners, which is exactly what you're saying.
Without the consent of the owners, and that's the big one. Without the consent of the owners.
I've kind of got a little bit of a similar story, actually, Elliot, now that when I knew I was talking to you about this, excuse me, at the tail end of this horrible cough. A friend of mine a couple of years ago, actually, I was speaking to, and they were building their dream home out west. I love how you say the wild, wild west in Auckland. And they'd been living in the city, brought up their kids off a very, very busy main road, and they'd had enough. And now the kids had flown the nest. She was like, we need to relax. I need to get out of the city. And they spotted a bit of land out west, Auckland, and started wanting to build, and then were told yes by the council that the local iwi would require 2 payments of $3,000. And she said, what's it for? And she was never given a clear, concise answer, exactly what you've just been saying. And I remember sitting in her kitchen having a cup of coffee, and I said, well, why? She goes, I do not know. And I said, well, what happens if you don't pay it? She says, well, apparently we've got no, we can't. And I said, well, who do you pay it to? She said, again, it's like, she said, apparently some iwi leaders are going to come round. And I said, and do what? And then she said she paid $6,000, two lots of 3, and nobody ever turned up, Elliot. Like, nobody came to look at the land. Nobody walked around and did whatever, but she paid it.
Yep. And I laugh, but then
Yeah,
I think
I
about
know.
that $6,000, for a company, for a medium or a large size construction company. For them, it's frustrating. They actually have to do the same thing in many different areas where they have to have someone from the local iwi allow them to do plans
Yes.
and pay the money for it. But $6,000 for us as the working people of New Zealand. That's
Yeah.
a lot of money
Heck
for
yes.
nothing.
For
For
nothing.
really for nothing. Mm.
Absolutely for nothing. She's built the house since, but I just remember her telling me that, and
Oh,
that was a couple of years ago.
awesome.
Can I, while I've got you,
Mm.
my friend, can we turn to the Gene Technology Bill in its current form? Alongside a scientific committee, there will be a Māori advisory committee, another based on tikanga. Now, for those that are still wondering what tikanga is, Elliot, because it is used a lot, can you explain to us?
Have you always wanted to visit India, but the hassle of planning and the intensity of group schedules is putting you off? Hi, I'm Craig, owner and tour leader of Maharaja Tours. With 40 years experience traveling India, I curate stress-free luxury tours where you can expect top hotels, easy travel, excellent guides and delicious food. Visit my website www.maharajatours.co.nz and explore your options for touring incredible India.